Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making this really cute cat toy, which as you can see, Rocket absolutely loves. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my Centro into panel mode, and this is the yarn we're going to be using from Hobby. It is so beautiful, and I'm just going to cast on using some waste yarn, so I'm just doing that. I did 10 hooks or 10 stitches to cast on. I've got a full video on how you cast on the Centro, which I'll link above and below in case you haven't done this before. And what we're going to do is work in a couple of rows of our waste yarn, just because it will make it more secure when it comes to casting off. So I'm just going to crank away and we're going to do a couple of rows. And as you can see, I'm rocking my pajamas, and my hot water bottle that wraps around your stomach, it's got a big strap. It's absolutely wonderful, fully recommend. And we're just cranking away. And I'm just going to cut the yarn, and now I'm going to be adding the working yarn, which is the Hobby glittery coloured yarn I showed you at the beginning. So I'm just showing you here how I attach the yarn. Then we're going to crank slowly just to attach that yarn to the waste yarn, and then we can continue working in the panels as we normally would. I had a bit of a knot here, so I just had to loosen it from the tension gauge. And now we can crank away. As you can see, this yarn is so sparkly and so beautiful. I love how it changes colour. I'm really pleased with how it works in the SENTRO Knitting Machine. So we're doing quite a lot of rows now in this yarn, and I mean quite a lot. It's obviously completely optional on how many rows you do. Just be aware that the longer it is, the more difficult it is to drag around when you're playing with your cat. And also you do need to be careful with cats with wool, just to make sure they don't eat any. So this type of toy is good because you've got to be a human playing with a cat to be able to use it rather than them playing with it themselves. So here I'm just attaching my waste yarn again, so we are casting off this time. So as you can see, that's nice and snug and looped in there. And that's Rocky just meowing because he clearly knows that I'm talking about his toy, if you heard that. So we're just going to do a couple of rows of our cast off yarn, exactly the same, working in the panel mode, just going back and forth a couple of times so we've got a nice secure base to be able to cast off with. So now it's time to snip the yarn and just pop the stitches off. And to cast off, I like using a pair of knitting needles because I can't crochet, even though I would love to be able to. So if you want to teach me, feel free to let me know the best place to go. Luna decided to be really annoying in a very, very cute way, obviously. But I think she knew it was for her and for Rocket to play with, so she just wouldn't leave it alone. But that's what it will look like. And then my favourite bit is when we get to pull all the waste yarn away. What we're going to do next is just cast off like you normally would with knitting needles. So I'm just speeding through this again with Luna trying to be in on the fun. So I'm going to attach my sewing needle just to cast off and go through the loop, just because it's quite a thin yarn. So there we go, we're going to loop on through, and you're also going to see Luna in a second as she patiently waits for her new toy. Look how cute she is, you can't get angry at that. So I'm just threading the yarn through the last stitch, and what I'm going to do is just going back and forth to try and create a smaller loop. So I'm just going in and out, so I'll be able to attach onto the dowel. I'd recommend applying some super glue and pressing the wool down just to make this easier and make it a bit more secure. So as you can see, I'm just sort of closing up the stitches on the end just to try and make a tube shape using my sewing needle, and this is quite easy. You just have to make sure you leave a big enough tail to be able to do as much as you want to. Obviously, if you really are keen, you can do that all the way down, so it is a tube all the way down rather than an open piece, but it would take a very, very long time. And I'm just going to wrap around the excess, and then I'm going to sew it in, which this just makes it a bit more secure, especially if you're not using super glue, but I would highly recommend that you do. I'm just creating a little knot to tie that off, and then I'm going to tuck that in. So I'm using some lilac string that I had and I've never used, and this I thought just added the finishing touch and really made it look really pretty and really cute. So I'm just going to tie a bow. I've done a double knotted bow And the colours just worked so perfectly. I really like how this looks. It's very cute. I'm just going to tie that off and then use a pair of scissors just to trim the excess thread, yarn, ribbon, whatever you want to call it. And once that's trimmed, that is our toy done and dusted once the super glue has dried. Thank you for taking the time to watch the tutorial. I hope you enjoy playing with your new cat toy with your furry friend, and I will see you next time.